Ooh, what's up, Philadelphia sports fans? I am Anthony Pinto,
And I'm Kevin Christian.
and welcome to the War Room. We are War Room Philly. Special guest Kevin Christian in the house tonight. Always a pleasure to have you on, Kev. Um, to the chat out there, yes, Kevin's on. That means it's going to be loaded with hockey talk, as it's been for the last few weeks. If you've
Yeah.
been catching us on Facebook Live, it's been a lot hockey centric. I have done my best to avoid Eagles talk because it is just it's depressing. It makes me mad. All of my all turns point back to fire Howie. So it's like, oh, who do you want to who do you want them to pick as the head coach? I don't care. Fire Howie. Like that's kind of my answer, you know. And
Yeah.
it feels that way with a lot of Philadelphia too, because I mean, especially if you look at our posts, they're hitting when we talk about Flyers. No one cares when we're talking about anybody, you know, as far as the Eagles coaching goes.
Yeah.
And the general feeling of Philadelphia, and everyone correct me if I'm wrong, is firing Doug Peterson may have not been the wrong move, but firing Howie is the right move.
Correct.
And maybe both would have been the right thing to do too, but this feels very similar to Ruben Amaro firing Charlie Manuel. So we got that to get into tonight, chat. The Sixers are on after their little COVID respite, if you will. You know, the NBA has been taking a beating today. I'm sure, Kev, you're on top of it always. I'm sure you saw that Carolina is now on pause. I think I saw, right?
Carolina got shut down, and then Washington just got fined
Oh, okay.
for breaking protocols. They just
By
had
the
four
way,
guys.
shout out to Joe Hunter. Thank you for the sub. I hope you're feeling well. By the way, I meant to send you a text today, but work got really busy. But my pops is at home with coronavirus, so I'm hoping you're hoping you're feeling well. Um, so yeah, we got a little bit of everything. Yeah, Washington got fined. You were saying?
Yeah, four guys just got jumped onto the list, including Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and their starting goaltender. So they got a. It sounds like they were out, and they got caught on some sort of social media. So they
Yeah.
got fined a good amount of money, and then those four guys are ineligible for until their testing comes back. So
That's like, remember how successful the bubble was? Like, and
I miss it.
look, I get that putting these guys in bubbles for a full season is virtually impossible to ask. Like, they're not. I get that they're getting paid a lot, but they're not military. Like, they shouldn't be forced to leave like their families or homes for that long. Um, but yeah, you're seeing even with like hockey took extra precautions, right? Oh, and we're seeing a lot of the War Room Philly logo in chat, and that always makes my heart happy. Shout out to our good friend Jeff, brotherly love, for designing that, by the way, and shout out to Jamie in chat. So yeah. Um, just moving things along. We got a little bit of everything tonight. It's a 4 for 4 show. The Phillies made some moves again, though. It's like the Phillies made moves, but it's like I don't give a damn until you sign JT. Like, it's the same with the Eagles. Like, man, I am so upset with our main two teams. But thank God for the Flyers
Yeah.
and you know, and dare I say the Sixers. Although there's still some work to be done with the Sixers, and especially with the layoff.
Yeah.
We'll see. And of course, the Sixers didn't land James Harden, which I had to talk about right before we went live for the Flyers pregame
Yep.
show, right before the season starts. That happens. I'm like, are you kidding me? Um, so yeah, that was a fun Facebook Live show.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're one of our Twitch, if one of our Twitch viewers and you don't already slam down that like button, facebook.com/warroomphilly. Or if you're one of our YouTube watchers, hire Doug back. I mean, um, So far, the best candidate. No, look, I'm not gonna. I don't want to just like look through through the past with rose-colored glasses. We saw, and how many times, Kev, you and I even specifically, we've had the conversation where we talked about Jim Schwartz getting fired, and I said, look, we can all scream Jim Schwartz, and rightfully so. But the problem with this team this year and the last 3 years is the offense, and that's on Doug Peterson. So yeah, go ahead.
My biggest problem with Doug, and the last time I was on and we really talked about it, was that was my first episode. I wanted him gone, but I wanted him and Howie.
Yes.
So that falls right in line with what you were saying earlier. But the reason I wanted Doug is, in Doug's career, he's called plays for 2 years, and they're both the years following the Super Bowls, and it didn't work either time. Just like with Bieniemy in Kansas City, Andy Reid calls his own plays. He has his entire career. He always will. That's why when they make that fourth down, it goes, man, look at Andy Reid. And that was how it was. It was the biggest reason. I remember being on here with you guys as a guest when we hired Peterson. And my biggest concern was, this guy's never called plays, and he's an offensive specialist. And it didn't end up being a problem when we had Frank Wright calling plays the Super Bowl year or the year before that. But as soon as he was gone and it was just Doug, who refused to hire an offensive coordinator, the play calling was so bad. And it's been bad for 3 years now. And I wanted him gone for that reason. But I wanted them to have a plan. And I'm actually concerned that tomorrow there's going to be a tweet coming out from one of the beat reporters that says the Eagles are setting up a meeting with Doug Peterson. Because at this point, they're just interviewing everybody. And I'm cool with taking your time, because to me, there's not that guy this year. That guy you got to go out and get. And I prefer you do the process correctly. But at the end of the day, if this ends with Josh McDaniels, I'm going to be furious.
Yeah.
Because...
Not a Josh McDaniels fan?
I think that McDaniels has proven time and time again that, whereas I think you could still have a conversation about whether Brady and Belichick made each other after this year, Tom Brady makes Josh McDaniels' offense. When Brady's running his offense, it's a top 5 offense. When Brady's not running it, it's middle of the pack at best. I mean, he had former MVP Cam Newton at 23rd this year. This isn't the guy you bring in to try and revitalize Wentz or to try and take Hurts to the next step, whatever you're going to do with this team.
That's Cam Newton. That's really far away from that MVP, though. And I'm a Cam guy.
I got you, and I hear that. But if you were hoping that this guy's offense was so brilliant that you'd revitalize him, and Cam Newton, who made his money on 5-yard passes, quite like, Hall of Famer Tom Brady does, that offense should work for him, especially when you can add him running and just jamming up the middle like that. Like, that should have worked if this guy's plans were so brilliant.
Didn't it kind of work for the first 4 weeks?
I don't remember at any point in time thinking that the Patriots were going to be anywhere decent. But
no, I agree with that. But I feel like there was buzz around that team until like week 5.
I feel like there's always buzz.
I feel like they won like their first game, went 1-0, looked really good, and everyone was like, Cam Newton's back.
Right.
There was the big hype. I remember a lot of that. But yeah, as far as my opinion on the Josh McDaniels thing is, here's what I'll say. I'm intrigued. Mm-hmm. I recognize and acknowledge the huge failure that he was in Denver. Right. That also was 10 plus years ago now.
Right. So and Kyle Orton was his quarterback.
Yes. Well, Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts was going to be his quarterback here. At this point, how much better is that? We don't even know. But no, I would hope that one or both of them are better than Kyle Orton.
I hear you. With the way they played this year, it's about the same. I get it.
So I'm intrigued. I'm not as against it as it feels like most of Philadelphia is, because I do think there's something to say for a coach's second go around. I do think that there's something to even make for the fact that he was, he got the job with Indianapolis only what was it, 3 years ago or whatever. And that GM has made a lot of good moves, including hiring Frank Reich since then. So, you can make the case that another up-and-coming GM saw something in him. I like the fact that he already has a plan for a coaching staff. Like, that was already apparently something that they were talking about. And you had mentioned, and I agree, the lack of plan with this Eagles team right now. 100% with you. Josh McDaniels feels like, at least in the prep mode, he's got a plan. Now, whether it works or not is to be determined.
I do like, the only thing I do like about him is what you said. The coordinators he'd bring with him makes me feel more comfortable with a guy like that. But for me at this point, with the fact that Howie's staying somehow, is you need someone who's – I don't want to see a first-year coach here, because then Howie's got everything.
Mm-hmm.
Howie's got every say. It's his show because he's the vet. But if you bring a guy on a second tread or a veteran coach – now I don't have a veteran coach in mind, but – if you have someone who's got a little more history, they get a little more say in the process. So normally I'd be all of it. If they had gotten rid of Howie, I'd want a fresh face. I'd be all for that. And, I like some of the names. I love the kid that they just interviewed, Reich's OC.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, I don't know the last name. I'm not going to catch it. But I like what he brings it. Like, I like some of these guys. I even like the idea of the
Nick
Kellen Moore.
Sirianni. I probably pronounced that wrong.
We'll
call him Nick Siri.
Yeah, that works for me.
Siri, find me a head coach.
Yeah. And under normal circumstances, I'd like those guys. I'd like that type of, the new offenses these guys are bringing. I hate the Cowboys as much as anybody, but Kellen Moore's offense works.
Can't have anyone from the Cowboys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I hear you, but that offense works.
But interview all of them.
Oh, yeah.
I want interview the football team, the Giants. I want to know what the janitor is doing at the Washington at Washington football teams. Yeah. Get all of their secrets while you can. That I like, but I don't want to hire any of them.
No,
I don't want to hire any of them.
For me, I think I'm falling on a retread myself, on another retread who failed miserably, just like Mr. McDaniels did. I like Todd Bowles. I like that. I want a defensive coach this time, and I want to get an OC. I'm not
opposed to that anymore, but I, to my core, like, my philosophy with football is when hiring a head coach, go offensive, because say you bring in Todd Bowles, his offense is successful, that offensive coordinator is going to get taken and go, you know what I mean? And that's another maybe strike against Josh McDaniels too. Is why has he, why has it been this long? Mm-hmm. But, he's felt comfortable, this, that, and the third, whatever it is. And we got from chat, just give it to Deuce and move on. I vehemently disagree with that. I am very anti-Deuce. I've been anti-Deuce. Maybe I'm wrong, and here's why. First off, pros. Every player gets behind him. They say they rally him. I like that. So let me start off with some good. Cons, the running back rotation since Chip Kelly has got here has been suspect. Deuce Staley has supposedly been in charge of that rotation since Chip Kelly and throughout Peterson's tenure. That not only has the rotation been bad, think about all of the running backs, and there has been a slew of them. All have had carrying issues. Like even the most I feel like even LeGarrette Blount had a fumbling issue here. And it's like, so that to me is a huge red flag, because that is that's his one thing he should be in charge of, right? As far as right on the field technicality, or two of those things, and both of them are, in my opinion, strikes against him. So to like we were just saying with Todd Bowles, and maybe you get Deuce Staley here, you still get an offensive coordinator. He's just going to be the guy that we all kind of wanted Peterson to move into that role, which is the cheerleader / manager.
Mhm.
But yeah. And by the way, what's up, Joe? I see you in chat. We got both of the Joes in chat. Um, so, bring Coatside back. Ooh. uh, uh, yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, it's all up in the air. I don't know. But yeah.
yeah.
This Eagles. God.
As far as Deuce is concerned, I to me it feels like, and it's something we've harped on in other teams in the city. Um, it just feels like I get he's here, and I think he's done a really good job in moving his way up the ranks, and he's due, and I understand that. But there were just 8 head coaching positions. No one talked to Deuce.
Mm-hmm.
No one even thought about it. The Eagles have now interviewed like 30 people, and Deuce was one of them. But like other teams went through their whole process, and his name never even came up. And I think there's a legitimate reason for that. Um, I would like to see him get a shot as an OC. And if you go with a defensive guy, I wouldn't mind seeing him step into that role. I'd like to see a play calling from a former running back because I'd like to see the running back get involved more. Like, I was not a Miles Sanders guy when I drafted him, but I've been banging the table all year trying to understand why this guy, who's clearly your best player on the field, isn't touching the ball.
Mm-hmm. When your offensive line is struggling, when your quarterback is struggling, and when, oh, by the way, Miles Sanders, he's breaking off home runs like once a game just to fill up his stats, just to make them look respectable. He's got to break off a home run. What if he broke off 2 a game because he was getting, twice as many carries?
Yeah.
McDaniels is a scumbag with 3 G's. With 3 G's. Maybe. Maybe, and that's something that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman have to. Oh God, the fact that those 2 idiots are. Howie Roseman is now hiring his 3rd head coach, and that's never happened before. This man has he can't pick. He can't. He can't pick a draft.
More than that.
He can't pick a draft pick. He look. Granted, Doug Peterson won the Super Bowl, so we can't just act like that was a wash. But even still, the relationship between them deteriorated fast. Clearly, there was a power struggle. Everything wanted to stay in house as far as Peterson wanted, and Howie, and I think rightfully so, wanted to go outside. So I'll give him some credit there, but I mean,
yeah,
it's mind-boggling that Howie Roseman has his job. Because again, and in case anyone's tuned in late or anything, I'm not anti-firing Doug Peterson. Here's what I would have done. If I'm Jeffrey Lurie, I would have, this is, again, the easiest move in Philadelphia sports, easier than signing JT Realmuto, which is a very easy thing to do. I would have fired Howie Roseman. I would have said to Doug, hey, hang tight. I would have hired a general manager. I would have had that general manager interview Doug Peterson, let them sit down, and then I go back to that general manager and say, what do you think? And let him make that call. Because that's my football guy, the new general manager. And that is who should be making these kind of calls. Yeah. Not Jeffrey Lurie, not Howie Roseman, who has been time and time again just been terrible. Yeah, it's to me it's so clear. It boggles my mind. So yeah.
I think my biggest thing for Peterson, for me, the nail in the coffin, and from what it sounds like from up high, that was the coffin, was I don't know how you leave this year and go, yeah, Schwartz is walking out, but I think what I'm going to do is promote from within.
Yep, I agree with that.
I get being loyal to your guys, but you just had the most embarrassing season across the league. The Jets and Jaguars were fighting for first overall pick, and the Eagles were the most embarrassing team in football.
Yeah,
and it wasn't close.
Your stock has dropped steady since the Super Bowl, across the board. Yeah. So again, for all the things Howie has done wrong, bothering Doug Peterson to go outside and hire fresh offensive and defensive minds made sense and was the right thing to do. And Doug Peterson, maybe in his next life won't be as loyal to a fault, or maybe will just surround himself with better, because we saw when he first got here that staff obviously won a Super Bowl. They did something right, including Howie Roseman, who was aggressive on some trade. Like, when was the last time Howie Roseman made a trade? Golden Tate?
No, it was the wide receiver who opted out this year.
Yeah, okay. So a good one. A good trade, I should say.
Right.
I
don't know. Golden Tate, you'd have to go behind that, because Golden Tate didn't work out either.
Yeah, but at least it at least got the fans excited, right? So even that, but yeah, you're right. Golden Tate was what you traded a 3rd-round pick for a 1-year rental who actually popped off in that playoff game.
Yeah, he had a good game.
So there was, and I personally think they should have signed him, traded Nelson Aguilar, who went downhill after that year too. But I digress. Why is Corky getting meaningful minute against the Celtics? Well, I'm glad I'm not watching the game right now. I saw Korkmaz came back, and I was like, why? It's like, all of my frickin' hate aside, Isaiah Joe has been stepping up, man. 2nd-round pick, number 45 overall, just popping off like he's been. I mean, the kid comes in and plays like 40 minutes in a game that they only have 6 players. Then again, time and time again, like, Isaiah Joe and Maxey right now, Tyrese Maxey, have just been so much fun as far as like the Sixers. And yeah.
I love having a GM again.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's what Howie Roseman needs to do, is like take an Elton Brand and step back. But again, that should have happened already. Yep. Like, instead he'll be like, no, you let me, I'll pepperoni and pizza or whatever his thing, and then I'll make that, and then he'll go and do it after the draft.
Right. After he messes up the 6th overall pick that we embarrassed the team, like embarrassing the coach by benching the quarterback, then he'll mess this pick up, then he'll step back.
Yeah. And then, and you won't get Devonta Smith. That's the kid's name, right? The Alabama Liners.
I don't think he makes it there anyway, but that's for another.
I'm trading everything for him.
I think you're getting the other receiver, but we'll see how it plays out.
Can't miss, right?
Listen,
Howie would be like, yeah, but this guy ran a really fast 40.
My thing with this is when I look at this draft, there are 6 can't-miss players. And the Eagles are lucky enough to be in the 6th position. You thought I was pissed last year when they took Rager over Jefferson. If they miss on this pick, I'm going to have a rough night.
I'm going to have a rough night.
I'm going to have a really rough night. I guess it's going to be... that's my biggest concern right now, is you did all this to get this pick. There are legitimate star potential players in this spot, and he's going to take a defensive end out of somewhere, and I'm going to throw something through my TV.
And that's when I went to the store to buy a new TV. So yeah, and I see chat from Joe Hunter. Yeah, Jackson will go. I could guarantee that, because his contracts, I even know that. Alshon Jeffrey, pretty sure he might even be able to come up now.
Yeah, he's got to go before that March 1st, or he gets the bonus. So you'll know soon on Alshon.
You're gonna get rid of a lot of those guys because you're $60 million over the cap, because Howie Roseman's cap wizard.
Yep.
Because he's good at that too, right? So when we just start shipping off players left and right, because it's a rebuilding year now, because Howie screwed up. So yeah, Jamar Chase, Smith, we got a few names in chat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
This should be the easiest draft of all time, and he's gonna mess this up.
Enter Howie Roseman. Trade Cox from chat. Yeah, I think you're gonna have to. This is a conversation that Kevin and I have had before. So
that's a hell no for me.
So here's the thing. I trade Cox, but I'm not giving him away. But you do. He's still productive. He had a great turnaround last year. Kind of made me eat my words a bit. but I still look at that, especially in a cap-strung team. He's got like a 25.3 cap hit, if I remember correctly, and it's for at
Something like that.
least another 3 years. I'll look it up.
So my thing with this is always going to be this, and I will say that before I finish this, before I get to this, he's a step below what I'm going to say. I can guarantee you right now that the LV Raiders would do anything to get Khalil Mack back. They would gladly give back those draft picks to get Khalil Mack back.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have a defensive player that is like on that type of a level, you're not getting value. Is my problem with this. There is no value for Fletcher Cox that's going to make it worth moving. If you can get fair value, you get fair value. But the problem with this ends up being that your D-line is probably the strongest part of the defense. Unquestionably, actually, it's not even a debate. That's your best front four is your best part of your team. The reason those D ends like Sweat and Graham eat is because of Cox. In the same way that Donald takes care of things in LA. Now, Donald gets to the quarterback. We've had this conversation before. The numbers don't always show it with what Fletcher does. And I get that. But this year, he heard you talking too much smack.
I
swear that's what it was.
Sometimes it's just, I got to put it out in the air. and you know what? It's fine. I don't mind. Mind. And I'm actually looking at his cap, and maybe it was restructured. But he only has one more year, like guaranteed against the cap too. So, here's the thing: is the goal to win next year or not? If you're not trying to compete, trading Fletcher Cox probably makes sense. If you are, then you might want to roll with him, especially given what he is for your leadership on defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got some chat going in chat. With the 6th overall pick. Oh no! In the NFL draft, with the Philadelphia Eagles select Zach Wilson, quarterback from BYU.
Quarterback factory, baby.
Bring in a safety. Raiders have the coach. Raiders have the coach with them. Do they? Offense will always destroy a defense. Yeah. Watching football playoffs. Yeah, the offense again. Offense is more of the priority, especially in playoffs. And again, that's personally that's like my philosophy when it comes to football. Head coaches, I always want to lean offense because, in my opinion, you want the brightest offensive minds. That's what innovate this game. The meta of football changes like every 2 years, and like you saw Doug Peterson come and go after really 1 year of success. It kind of went to his head. I think it went to everyone's head on this entire franchise.
I agree.
Down to the ball boys. And yeah, it's now you have to start over from new. Unfortunately, Howie Roseman is here, and that's just something we're gonna have to get over with. But yeah, I go offense. That's just and it's not anything against Todd Bowles or anything like that. But that's just.
I normally do, and 90% of the time I'd be with you, but I don't see the LaFleur. I don't see the young. I don't see that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that game changer, that guy who's got something innovative. Like I said, I like Siri from Indianapolis. Like I liked what his offense showed, and I think his offense is. I'm looking forward to, if he stays in Indianapolis, seeing that offense with a younger, I assume more mobile, because it's impossible not to be, than Philip Rivers, who, congratulations on a great career. But I want to see what that offense looks like, because I think it looked even better at times this year when Brissett was running it. Mm-hmm. You could tell it was made for a more mobile, someone who can do those option plays. So I don't see the offensive guy with the pedigree, which is what I think you need right now, because you need someone who can walk into a room and tell Howie what's up. And I don't think there's that guy available on the offensive side, whereas Bowles, I think, has a little more respect throughout the league and a little bit more respect that he can maybe hold his own, because if Howie's calling all the shots this year, yeah, you trade them all. Why are we holding on to anybody at this point? There is no competitive
and
with
get
this guy running
picks
the team.
further down the year. Further down the road too. 2-3 years.
If you trade Wentz, I want like 2026, 2027 first round picks. Nothing close, because this guy's only going to mess it up. And I still do. I liked the move for Wentz. I thought that trade was brilliant. You gave up less than what you normally do to move into a trade like that. So I'm all for that. I mean, I thought that was a brilliantly done thing. And Howie's always handled trades well. I will give him that. It's just the drafting that comes behind it he usually messes up. But the higher it is, the less likely it is he messes up. He nailed Lane Johnson. He nailed Carson, in my opinion. So the closer it is to the top, the harder it is to mess up, and he usually doesn't. So he can't do 20. He has no idea what to do in that range.
It would be hysterical if Wentz goes to the Colts and they win a Super Bowl. Oh, jeez. Chat is Joe says, where's the Sixers and Flyers? Oh, it's coming. We started off with some Sixers talk, by the way, but if you got anything specific, feel free to bring it back. But the Flyers talk is coming, and it's coming up right around the corner. As we wrap up the Eagles talk. Rivers always chokes in the play. Yeah, look, it's funny because, and maybe we can shift from the Eagles into football and then just go into the Flyers. Guess Ben Simmons' point total. It's halftime. I don't have it in front of me. I got the Celtics in front of me. I do know that it's 51-53, and if Joe says it, it's probably low. I'm going to go 6 points for Ben Simmons, and I'm going to move my thing over, and he is at 3. He is at 3. But guess how many points Joel Embiid has? 20. Sixers down 53-51. At least that's what I got here. Although Joe says it's halftime, and this says that there's 2 minutes. So maybe I'm behind on the stats.
ESPN's got 2 minutes left.
So Rivers, people love to call Rivers underrated, and I'm like, Rivers is overrated, in my opinion. Like,
I'm on the other side. I'm on under.
The underrated. You know what? I think you and I have had this conversation before too.
And I will stay. I've said this since the day he was drafted. I'll say it 17 years later. He's still the best quarterback in that draft.
Oh, I don't know, man. And
done more with less, and brought teams that should have been nowhere near the playoffs to the playoffs. Played with guys. I mean, he's always had Keenan Allen or Vincent Jackson, so he's always had a receiver, so I'll give him that. Gates was an undrafted tight end who became...
But he's still a Hall of Famer.
A Hall of Fame receiver, but you never saw them without each other, so that you run into the Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Peyton Manning thing.
Yeah,
who made who?
I don't fault Rivers for his, weapons or anything. He was always kind of in a subpar organization too. The Chargers felt like their biggest priority, their entire franchise or the career of Rivers was to move, and not to win a Super Bowl. So I see that. That all being said, I never really bought the Rivers hype.
I think he's one of those guys who he'll go down as one of those guys that just never won that game, and it'll all be held against him.
Borderline Hall of Famer, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I would put McNabb in the Hall of Fame before I put Rivers in the Hall of Fame.
I'd put them both in, so I'm with you there. But I would definitely put McNabb first. But I agree with that.
That's fair. Yeah, I would put neither. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. We got to get into other things. Yeah. But yeah, I do. The Simmons hate is now flowing in the chat. Simmons has got to go, and there it is. And Rivers is better than McNabb. I shouldn't have brought McNabb's name up. I'm sorry, chat. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that, chat. I know I can't bring that name up. You would think in Philadelphia, the best quarterback of our franchise, you could say his name and not invoke anger. But
I can't believe you just did that. Now you're gonna have arguments about Cunningham in the chat.
Hey, I love me some Cunningham, but it's undeniable. No, what people do say this. It's Nick Foles because he won the Super Bowl.
I got a buddy of mine who I went to high school with.
How do you argue with that?
I literally had a buddy of mine who went to high school with, who is, in my opinion, one of the worst Philadelphia sports fans of all time. I've never met a guy who hates more guys in Philly in my entire life.
He's one of those guys.
Hates Wentz, hates Simmons, hates Giroux. So go cheer for another city. I don't understand it.
You know,
Like there's
Philadelphia has this. It's weird because Philadelphia does that more than
anywhere else.
anywhere else that at least, you know, I've never lived anywhere else, but man, Philly loves to tear down their stars. Whereas like everywhere else they build them up. We love the Eric Bruntlets or, you know, the backups. Like you know, now that you have Carter Hart, it's out the door, but like before Carter Hart, it was Sergei Bobrovsky over, you know, Ilya. Maybe that was right, you know, but it was like it was always, if Esh was starting, it was Boucher was the better one. If Bush was starting, you know, maybe not Esh, but you know what I mean. Like
no,
it's
100%.
It's always the backup quarterback. It's always the backup goalie. But I digress. How do you hate G? I know I don't understand how anyone that claims to be a Philadelphia Flyers fan hates Claude Giroux.
I get it. I argue about it all the time. So.
But even like even Ben Simmons, I don't get hating Ben Simmons. He drives us nuts. Like, but I can't see like hating on the guy, right?
It's remarkable to me, and I'm telling you, literally, and this guy that I'm referring to in particular will retweet like ESP. And I'm like, all right, so you just have no actual concept of how sports are played, because this is just the Nick Foles should have stayed over Wentz thing is mind-boggling to me. I don't care. It'll be 30 years. I'll be explaining to my grandchildren that I don't understand how this was ever a conversation. And I understand how bad Carson played this year, and his career might be done. And I still think it was the right move because Nick Foles cannot play football.
Carson Wentz has still started and played in more games than Nick Foles since that Super Bowl.
And Foles thank you for the Super Bowl, and thank you for that performance.
Love Nick Foles. Nick Foles is the most interesting man in Philadelphia sports history.
Yep.
Like that's his like placard, because his 27-2 that season was a phenomena, and like
7 touchdowns against Oakland.
The ups and downs and like Nick Foles is the most interesting man in Philadelphia sports history. You know, maybe Wilt and then Nick. Like and the BDN factor also helps with, you know, the Wilt thing too. Because that was the Wilt it's Wilt the Stilt versus BDN. But yeah. Refuses to better his game. We're talking about Simmons in chat. You go from, because it was like you went from talking to I can read through Joe's brain, but he goes, how do you hate G? He's been the most consistent Philadelphia athlete, and then he says he refuses to better his game, and I'm like, wait, what? That doesn't. He's talking about Ben Simmons. We're going through. ESP needs to be shipped to. Now I remember what you're saying about ESP too. I was like, wait, what do you mean by ESP? And then because I didn't want to read his name, I was like, oh, that's what we're doing. Needs to be shipped away. If you ever thought, he's bad. He's a rat. I've heard. He's a rat. I'll just leave it like that. I don't want to throw the guy too far under the bus.
Yeah.
Cunningham blame Buddy. We're going back to Cunningham. Come on, chat. Come on, chat. We're trying to talk Flyers. Let's get out of here. Get out of the Cunningham thing. No, Chip Kelly should have coached Randall Cunningham. That would have been phenomenal. But Chip Kelly would have been like 13.
Oh my God, you and Chip Kelly.
But I digress. Bring him back, dude. He deserves a second. I said I'm a fan of the second chance coach. Bring back Chip Kelly. You heard it here. No, I'm just kidding.
That'd be his third chance in 4 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. No, but no, we're not going back to the Eagles thing. No. We're sticking. It's and even if you want to throw some Phillies in, we're talking any team other than the Eagles now for the rest of the night, unless something breaks. But Simmons got 5-5-5. Hey man, $5 foot long.
Yeah, I'll say he'll finish with 10, 10, and 10 like he always does.
Triple double. No.
Yep. So I do have breaking.
Okay.
And it's not good. This sucks.
Is it NHL?
It is.
Oh no, it's Rona.
It's Phil Myers.
Oh no, it's worse than Rona.
Yeah, sure is. So this guy's got sources, and he's a writer here in Philly. Um, 4 to 6 months, he's done for the year. So
Ouch.
second
Well,
MRI tomorrow to verify what they saw today, but um, not the team's supposed to make it official tomorrow, so we'll see. I'm hoping. I usually don't hope against guys who have sources, but I'm really hoping he's wrong on this because that's a lot. That's a big loss for my guy. We talked about being a possible fill-in to play the top line to now have to figure out a bad what was already not looking like a great defense. You now have to piece together with
yeah, I
some.
was I was gonna say the Flyers more than likely, and this is words you rarely hear from Anthony Pinto talking about the Philadelphia Flyers, in agreement with Flyers fans, they needed to add a veteran defenseman.
Yeah,
For once, I'm not going scoring. Still down to add scoring, but no, this team needed to add a veteran defenseman before this injury. Now you're gonna have to probably up that to priority number one.
yeah, and I think the biggest thing now is, I mean, if this is true, and like I said, this guy seems pretty reliable based on what I've
What
been
who
looking
is
at.
it? If I'm not like afraid to or like
It's Matt from Broad Street Buzz.
okay
His name's like Matt Adelphio on
okay.
Twitter, but I don't know what his full. I didn't get as far enough to.
Oh, that's fine. I just figured we could throw him. You could throw him a
Yeah,
little cred.
Matt Adelphio. He seems like knows what he's talking about. He seems like he's pretty hooked in. I haven't seen it from any of the beat guys yet, but they're usually a little more cautious when it comes to end of year type things. So my thing with this is I have not liked the way the defense has played in 4 games. And obviously they got exposed on Monday. When your goalie's making a 40 save shutout, that's usually a bad thing. Good on Moose for playing the way he did last night. But 40 shots is unacceptable. That can't happen. And they got out. In my opinion, they got outplayed in Pittsburgh and just won because Pittsburgh's goalie's terrible and the offense put in goals. I mean, 11 goals in 2 games is great, but they were getting beat defensively. And Monday really was a culmination of all the things that were worrying me from the first 2 games. Last night, the offense looked fine. I hate throwing lines in a blender after 3 games, especially throwing lines in a blender after 1 bad night. The offense isn't the problem. This is the defense, and losing Myers is absolutely killer.
We got Coots is out too. For
Coots always kill. And this team's record without Sean Couturier speaks for itself. They go from being playoff caliber team with him in the lineup to they're lucky if they can win 1 out of every 5 games when he's out. Now they're deeper than they've been in for most of his career, so I think the offense will be able to pick it up. But Eric Gustafsson was a guy who, I talked with other Flyers fans, and we talked about it on the show when he got signed. Do not expect defense from him. Mm-hmm. If you think Ghost can't play defense, wait till you see this guy, and it's been rough.
Hey, night one, he got into it offensively, but then
right.
Every night since, he's been, throwing.
But even night one,
negatives.
Night one, he passed the puck to Crosby on a goal.
Yeah, he did.
And so and that's the good and bad with a type of guy like that, yep. And I get that, and that's what I understood going into it was you put him with a guy like Haig, who's good defensively, sort of, and you hope that pairing works. But this team, without going out and making a trade, is now hoping that Gostisbehere coming off of the COVID protocol is rookie Shane Gostisbehere. Because he's gonna have to play top minutes, whether it's on the top pair with Provorov or on the second pair with Sanheim. Now you need to hope for that guy to come back for this season to have any chance. Because with Haig and Gustafsson, you're playing already 2 subpar defensemen. Justin Braun is not much higher than those guys. You're running with 3 subpar defensemen. You only got 2 good ones. Mark Friedman is going to be the guy who steps in tomorrow, I would assume. Unless Ghost is ready to come back. And I don't know what he is. So this season went from extremely promising to injury bitten within 4 games, which should surprise no one because that's the Flyers.
Yeah, and I think with this season especially, you're gonna see this happen. Like it's happening across sports. Like
Yeah.
everything is wacky right now, right? Like
Yep.
we all understand what's going on in the world as far as coronavirus goes. So even non-sports injuries, or the people are going in and out of the lineups with the coronavirus and
Yeah.
protocols and this, that, and the third. So yeah, it's tough. Thankfully, you're deep at center, like you were
Yeah.
saying. Morgan Frost steps into 20 because we were talking about the first two lines on the Flyers being so, and it's like that second line is already up, and they're at the first line now when Coots comes out, and Morgan Frost is going to come in and see some time. And I'm excited for Morgan Frost. I really am. We've talked about this. Feels
Yeah.
like for 2 years now.
Yeah.
The excitement level for Morgan Frost. So
And they're waiting
it's
on his MRI too.
yeah. I was gonna say he got banged up too, right? He took
Yeah.
was it off the arm or elbow? Maybe
It was, and it was the craziest thing was the three guys who've been hurt so far as Coots, Myers, and Frost. It's nothing hits. It's just weird angles. Like
yeah.
Coots somehow hurt his ribs and he got hit up top. I have no idea what happened. Like that doesn't make any sense. Myers last night was trying to hit somebody. He hit him back, and they just kind of pulled. He looked like he pulled something in his side. I don't know what he ended up hurting yet. And Frost avoided a check. I mean, jumped in front of the guy to make sure he didn't get hit, and then fell like his arm was shattered. So it just was weird plays. Like the Flyers got hit plenty, but it wasn't the big hits. It was always something weird and something dinky, and you hate to see it, and especially with a guy like Couturier who just gets the weirdest injuries of all time. I've never heard of someone ripping the cartilage off of their ribs. It's literally the first time I actually had to look up what it was because they were like, "Oh, this is the injury," and I'm like, "I've never heard of that."
Yeah. If
Ever.
I looked it up, I would throw up. But
Yeah, it was. It's not pretty, but just the name. They're like, "He's out with this injury," and I'm like, "What the hell does that mean?" And then I looked it up, and it says ribs, and I was like, "I've never. That's just how do you do that on that play?" But yeah, I was very excited for Morgan. I'm hoping it's nothing serious for Frost because I think he's looked good. Still looks a little scared, which I'd hope at 2021 he'd start getting over that, but it is what it is. For me, last night they put together a line of Patrick, Lindbaum, and Konechny.
It's funny. Real quick, the next thing I was going to ask you was, what do you think about Nolan Patrick? And it's the first name that you just brought up. But go ahead and finish your point, and then you can.
I hope that they never break that lineup.
Yeah.
I hope I'm 50 before they stop playing together because that was awesome. Nolan Patrick is Nolan Patrick's already become the guy that they look to. When there's a big moment, he's on the ice. When you need to get a rush through the neutral zone with speed, you pass the puck to Nolan Patrick. On the power play, which is still a mess, it's Nolan Patrick who sets it up. So I was so worried that this kid would never play again. This is the guy we drafted second overall.
Yeah.
For a reason. And he looks like it. And the points are going to come. He got one last night on a play that he really shouldn't have. But had a goal his first game.
Last night he set up the it was him the TK
sort of.
Him the TK to
No, him to Lindblom to TK.
That's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm missing something.
He made a nice play defensively and knocked it up the wall, which was a good move to see the guy. But that's all Lindblom and Konechny. The pass by Lindblom is unreal.
That was fine.
To bounce that off the boards. But Nolan, I was very positive he would play this year. I was very positive that by the end of the season he would look like himself. I did not expect from game one for him to possibly look like one of the top three Flyers on the ice. Mm-hmm. And he has. In all 4 games, even Monday where I thought the whole team looked pretty bad, him and Provorov were the only bright spots for me. Provorov looked like he was playing with a lead weight attached to him with how bad Braun was playing. But I thought they had 2 guys who showed up on Monday, and that was it. Even Carter didn't look good.
He's looked human so far, which is okay.
I think this defense has been extremely bad. Carter, to me, in the Pittsburgh 2 games, reminded me a little bit of Steve Mason. making saves he absolutely has no business making. But the goals he gave up, I was kind of iffy. They weren't, it was the same feeling I had with him during the Montreal series in the playoffs, where he could win games and say, but then that stupid goal would get by, and you're just like, that you can't do that. For you to be who you are, for you to be that top 5 goalie in the league, those little stupid goals can't go in.
He wants to be the best too,
right?
Which I love. I that's admirable. I want every one of my players to say I want to be the best. Like I love that mentality, and especially out of my athletes.
Especially in hockey, where they don't talk like that. You don't have a personality in hockey. It's against the rules. So for a guy to be that open about it, and
very brash in hockey. That's a good point.
Loved it. Yeah. I was like, this is, especially for a guy like Carter who's quiet as hell. He doesn't really talk. So
he lets those dank Spider-Man helmets do the trick. Shout out to Paint Zoo.
His obsession with Venom and Carnage.
I know. As I got right here a Venom shelf of pops. So yes,
I know that's a man after your own heart.
I'm all about it. And I even got Carnage as possibly you might be able to see him on the stream.
Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, it's I'm all about those masks and that statement. Still hate Elliot from chat. Yeah, man, the man puts up the moose egg last night. Which, how long have we had Elliot? I know he doesn't get too many shutouts, but why has it taken me this long to think of the moose egg? And nobody. Like, it's so easy. Like, I'm not that creative. I'm not that clever. It's right there for all of us to pick. But yeah, he puts up the moose egg last night. And he's still getting hate in chat. Come on. No,
listen,
God.
No, I said before the season that he was one of my biggest worries about this type of season, because I liked the depth on the offense. I was a little worried. I thought that when it came trade deadline time, they would try to make a move for a defenseman to shore up the defense. But with the back-to-backs and how often you're playing these type of games, I don't want Brian Elliott playing that often. Didn't think he'd be the bright spot 2 weeks into the season, but there it is.
Go ahead.
No, but that was so I get chat's hate a little bit, but come on.
Because here's the thing, chat still remembers Brian Elliott the starter.
And I'm with them.
I hate Brian Elliott the starter as well. Brian Elliott, the sage veteran backup, has been quietly one of the MVPs in my opinion. For everything that Carter Hart has been and was last year, still wouldn't have started him in the playoffs last year, but he's in my opinion far down on the things I worry about, and that could change very, very quick. But yeah, I was sound in Moose this year, Brian Elliott. The goaltending situation for the only time in our lives is set. So yeah, or at least we hope.
My biggest concern was if it had been an 82-game season, I'm in. I want Moose back. I want him to play.
See, I'm almost the other way around. I'm almost more concerned with the longer season, which is interesting.
But it's just because of the spacing of the games.
Yeah.
Like you had no choice but to play him last night. And every other day is pretty much what you're going to be playing. And then the Flyers have the second most back-to-backs in the league because, of course, they do. So that's a guarantee he's got to play every one of those, whether it's the first or the second game. There's a lot that has to go into it, and it's just a lot of games in a short amount of time for a guy who I feel more comfortable he plays like one every 6 or 7 games. Now you're talking about in a 56-game season, he's probably got to play 15 to 20 games, which I don't want Carter sitting on the bench that often.
That's true.
And I'm not confident enough that we'll keep getting moose eggs.
No, we're not going to keep getting the moose eggs.
That I'm okay with every time Carter's on the bench. I want Carter Hart and net, and I'd feel more comfortable if they had a better backup. But I like their relationship. I like the way that they've worked together, and they seem to really respect each other. So I get all that, and I was very excited that he was back until they cut the season short. Then I became a little more worried about how often I got to see Elliott and net.
Fair point. Yeah.
That was my biggest concern. I'd rather have gotten a veteran, but with money as tight as it is, I didn't think it was really that plausible anyway. So,
Like the way the season will be played. Yeah, that's true. I think I saw that a couple times in chat today. I just like first off, 56 games. Let's do that moving forward. I'm down. Space it out more. I love shortening. I even with the NBA, shorten your seasons. We don't need 82 games, even
right.
especially with the MLB. Like expand playoffs, cut down. Even if you make it to 120 games, it's still way too many games.
Mm-hmm.
But you can just make everything easier. I thought it's insane to me that it took a pandemic for sports leagues to start coming up with and using some new ideas. The back-to-backs are awesome. Obviously, it sucks that like we can't play the Avalanche this year or West Coast teams, you know.
Yeah.
But this was hockey making by far and away the best out of a completely shitty situation. Just
Agreed.
awful situation to the point where like you had to sanction off a country of teams because of a travel ban and things like that. So yeah, it sucked. And hockey was like, you know what? Let's have some fun, chat. And oh, Flyers Bruins is a rivalry again. And oh, by the way, we're gonna start the NHL season off Flyers Penguins back to back. Like as a Flyers fan, and I said this leading up to the show to the season, like it's just awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I see we need fights. And the thing about fights, fights are by nature ruined because everyone wears a face mask now, and you get fined if you take it off. So the product hockey fights are boring. Like if you can do the gentleman, like in my opinion, the rule should be if you drop the gloves, you have to take the helmet off. Because otherwise, it's just a waste of the game. Like it's wasting everyone's time to see like someone just pulled the sweater over. It's what pussies do.
Did you see? Did you see the video?
Shout out the you don't push. That's what pussies do.
Did you see the video of the first fight after they installed that rule?
I don't remember it. If I did,
the two guys dropped the gloves and then they leaned their heads towards each other and clipped off the helmets and took them off each other and stepped back and fought. Because they were getting around the rule.
Yeah.
My thing with it at this point is hockey's become such a skill game, and there's still the throwing of the checks, and there's still big dudes and all of that. If you're in this league now strictly to fight, then you probably don't have the skill to play with these guys anymore.
Yeah.
The teams that employ fighters, for the most part, get run out of the building every night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it is. You're going to have the guys like Ristolainen, for anyone who watched the last 2 games against Buffalo, who's just a mean bastard. Big dude, 6'6". I mean, just kills
people. It's just
people.
such a good way to describe it. He's just a mean bastard.
He is. And you know, you got guys on this team who are tough, but it doesn't mean they have to drop the glove. Nick Kubel is out of his mind. I think he's only fought once or twice in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
In Lehigh Valley, he was suspended multiple times for doing absolutely mind-boggling stuff. He's a dirty dude when he wants to be. But you'll see fights, and mostly it'll be guys like Albe Kubel and Lawton taking care of it for this team. And honestly, fine. I don't want anybody in the top 9 fighting. I don't want any of our defensemen fighting. Sanheim should never be allowed to fight again. He lost to Nathan Gerby, so he's done for his career, hopefully. I like the fights as much as anyone, but unfortunately now you don't have guys who can throw them anymore because the league is too good. Yeah. I mean, you're not playing in an era anymore where you can have Donald Brashear on a 4th line.
Oh, boy.
And I loved Brash. Yeah. He was awesome.
And again, to your point, like, our guys can hit, like, top through bottom. Like, you don't want to mess with Hayes. Like, you don't want to, like, every line, Konechny and Lindblom both can scrap. It's not like they're like cupcakes out there.
No.
But
and
yeah.
And the team has been over the last couple of years. They had this. It was just Simmons for a long time,
and that drove me nuts because Simmons, like you were saying, you don't want top 9. Simmons was a top 9 player, top 1, and it's like dude would be in the box, and it's like yo, I love it. It's exciting. I get what you're trying to do, but you are not the person to do that
Yeah.
when you're scoring 30 goals a year for us.
Yep.
So yeah, it was tough.
The team's not as soft as Philly fans want to talk about, and I get it. This is the
Yeah,
Broad Street Bully City, and I get all that.
but
But at the end of the day, this is not some weak team that gets run out of buildings. They throw their body just fine.
these back-to-backs play to the Flyers' strength still.
100%.
This is still like again. You have guys like Lawton, Konechny. These guys get under your skin as an opposing player. Like
Yep.
you want to just break your stick over Travis Konechny.
Flyers had 2 power plays last night that definitely stemmed from Monday.
Yes, and that's the things that, and again, like hockey. You don't have to do it as like every game, but man, more back-to-backs. Like,
I love the baseball setup. I love the
even if it's
series.
home and homes, just we need 3 to 5 of them throughout the year. Like between divisional rivals.
Division, yeah, and that's the thing is you can't do it when you go back to playing the West twice and you go back to playing, the teams that are further away. That's fine.
Oh, those assholes!
You should definitely be playing Pittsburgh back to backs every year, and they did it for a long time with the Rangers.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And I think G talked about it last night on the broadcast, saying that we used to do one of these a year, and now we're doing every game like this, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it does work to their advantage because up and down the lineup, the whole team's a bunch of pain in the asses. Travis Konechny, people dream about this dude because he just doesn't shut the hell up. And you'll see anytime when you're watching the broadcast and they show an opposing player automatically turn his head, it's because TK's talking somewhere behind
He's
him.
just always.
It's him.
The Flyers like social media crew does a pretty good a pretty good job of showing what they can of him, running his mouth. We got from chat Flyers power play on fire, absolutely, and they're 2 units deep as well. So yeah, I agree. Not only are they, but they seem to be moving the puck with a lot more, almost like a Sixers type feel, just decisions being made very effectively. You can see year 2 of AV, this team very fluent in picking up the things throughout, last season and this season. Look even more baseball when you play back-to-back. They got rough hockey. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. I don't think anyone in the NHL is as fan-wise is going to complain about this format. Again, the NHL, and we love to trash Bettman, right? So props here a little bit because we love to trash Bettman, but man, you got handed lemons and you made martinis or whatever alcoholic drink. I don't know. But you didn't make lemonade. Like you threw out the party. Like you made limonade. But so that it was just props to the NHL for really making the best, at least for now. Obviously anything can go awry, but for now making the best out of a bad situation.
And you're getting your outdoor games like you want.
And by the way, NHL, like the pass is free right now. So like 10 o'clock, the West Coast games have been so much fun. I've been watching. I caught the back-to-backs of the Ducks Vegas Knights. There's just been some good.
Vegas, the one team that ruins my fighters don't belong in the league argument because that team's dirty as hell, and they've got Ryan Reeves. So they're the one exception to my rule of if you're employing a fighter, you're usually pretty bad. But I'll tell you what, if anyone watching is an Eagles guy through and through and doesn't really do hockey, definitely watch this year for the Flyers. But if you just want to pick up a random game and see what it's like when you're not watching Philly, any of the Canadian games. That division they hate each other.
I haven't checked into any of that yet, which is weird. I am, and I've said this time and time again, I am a sucker for the 10 o'clock West Coast game.
Oh, and they're great.
I'm like all the California teams. I'm like I just love just watching them. The other night I had the Arizona Coyotes and they had the reverse retros on. I forget who they were playing. All I can remember was the jerseys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it's been fun. Love the reverse retros too. I just ordered myself the I got myself it might even see it next week if it comes, but I got myself a Quebec Nordiques, but it says, I really was picky. I wanted one that said Colorado Avalanche, but with the Nordiques logo. So I got that. That's a crispy shirt going to be coming in pretty soon.
They got McDavid against Matthews on right now.
Yeah.
And it took a pandemic to finally put Connor McDavid on a primetime game. So, whatever it's worth, he's on NBC Sports tonight. So, that I think it's only happened like 12 times in his career, which is a joke for what is probably the top 3 player in the league. So,
yeah. Oh, that's for we were just talking good about hockey. Well, hey, welcome back, Steve. That's Gary. It's like it's these guys time for years. Like, you have more players than Crosby and Ovechkin. Market them. Like it's insane.
It finally feels like they're getting it.
Yeah.
With the way they hype on McKinnon, and they're finally getting around to do it to McDavid. I don't know how many records he has to break before they finally start talking about him, but I get it. He's in Canada, no one cares. But like, it's part of your base, and you should probably like. I think it was last year's Super Bowl. They were interviewing members of the Chiefs, and only Travis Kelce knew who Connor McDavid was. Like, talking about pro football players who don't know who top player in the league is. Yeah. Like, I guarantee you, if you asked the other way, they'd be able to name the left guard. So, like, try and compete at least. Like, this McDavid shouldn't be someone who non-fans know. Everybody should know him the same way you know anybody else of top players in sport.
Same way you know Travis Kelce. And
Travis, like,
Travis Kelce's a tight end. That's not even a sexy position. Right. You should know. By the way, Notowich coming in a chat with vote for Gritty. Gritty wins all the votes. Yes.
Always vote for Gritty. I don't know what he was doing last night, but I'm in.
The flick was pretty good. The flick of the wrist to the for the connecting. By the way, shout out to everyone. Facebook.com/WarRoomPhilly who threw emojis in the chat for him, because that's all I wanted was to just see. And I got some good gifts. Because look, that's the only way we can throw our hats right now. So again, props to everyone who was getting in on that. And if you
I dented my wall a little bit.
Yeah, Facebook.com/WarRoomPhilly. Oh, you threw a hat? You threw a...
Right? Yeah, I was right here. Fired.
So yeah, it was. That was great. Love seeing Konechny out to the hot start, especially given his
playoffs.
Yeah, I was gonna say slow playoffs, but that would be giving it too much credit. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So, but now, look, we saw a pretty damn good regular season out of TK last year. It's gonna be for him. What can he do this year in the playoffs? Because that's
100%.
That's who we really missed scoring wise. Like, forget about the Giroux and everything, because he was still effective, especially as late as the season got more and more dire. You saw him stepping up and making bigger plays. TK, he was around the net, he was getting his shots. I think he was showing his frustration too much.
Yep.
And that, as an opponent, you feed off of that.
Oh yeah.
So Giroux was guilty of that too, if I'm being honest. So
always.
I like seeing it as a fan, because it's like, man, those guys care. But as an opponent, I like it even more. I'm like, you little, like, I got you. Like, as a goalie, your ego grows more and more every time you see someone whack a stick against the ground, the ice. Yep. So yeah. It's good to see him. It's good to see him doing his thing. And now it's just going to be, what can he do? Moving forward throughout this whole season. Embiid's got 31 right now. Shout out to Joe for the live updates. Can we get what's the score sitch here? 75, 70, 77, 75 right now. I got Celtics up. So yeah. And it's the third quarter. So, yeah, we're going to wrap this show up, actually. Oh, I just realized it's 8:45 already, too, by the way. What
Morgan
up, guys?
Frost to the IR.
It has not been a good night for Flyers news. So, we got and it's a shame, too, because he just gets, like, preseason, we're talking about how, man, you want to get Morgan Frost into the lineup, but it's like, where do you put him? Then, okay, you get a shot to get him in. And man, what, one game? Two games? One game? That's
Too. You're right. It's too.
yeah. So
Uh,
it's
Now,
tough.
what's nice about the NHL IR and what is beyond confusing at the same time about it is they could retroactive him to yesterday, and I think it's just a week
Okay.
at minimum. So what all it guarantees is he's out until the 26th or 27th. But he is eligible to return after that. But moving a guy to the IR that quick could be about a bunch of things, especially with this taxi squad thing.
No to which
Um,
with the follow too, by the way. Thank you, thank you. I love it, I love it. I was saying, I was like, that's a new name, and then we got a follow too, so I like that. Welcome to the show. Thank you for trusting the process. I'm sorry, I cut you off because
no,
I got
it's good.
excited. I had to give people their
Yeah.
dues.
My guess is that means that you'll see Connor Bunneman step back into the lineup. But
Yeah, yeah, and I did see earlier. They actively did something with his contract, right?
so he went from the taxi squad to the active roster.
So now they have an open taxi squad spot, correct?
They will now because they're going to have to move someone else from the taxi squad to replace Frost, and then it'll open up another because Pouliot, the defenseman, came up. This is going to be a ton of movement this year because of the way the taxi squad works. For good or bad, it's just going to be frustrating as hell because to keep track of, it's already enough to try and keep track of 20 players, let alone the 6 on the taxi squad, and try and remember who the hell is behind that.
Yeah,
so.
and then you're like, and who else is what would be a phantom?
Right, and they don't start they start next week finally, so at least you'll get something, at least have an idea of what's down there. Flyers got a couple guys.
I like seeing the taxis in chat. All right, all right.
But I don't know what you do because I don't want to break up that fourth line. But
yeah, and that's
my guess is Scotty Lawton's coming back to the top 9 would be my guess, but I don't know what you do. I think it's going to be time to see what this depth really can do because that was their strong point coming in. And now you have injuries to Frost and Couturier. They're testing out that center depth that we just talked about being so strong. So
the deep at center, 2 of them go down. How deep are we at center?
Yeah, we're about to find out. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, and hopefully better news than what that guy's breaking about Myers. But it didn't look good, and he's a pretty tough guy. So
yeah, I kind of already expected 1 to 2 months, being optimistic.
Yeah.
So we shall see. Who is the 6th? Who back to Eagles? So and hey, now is the final thoughts segment of the show. So if we missed anything, or if you want to bring anything back, if you tuned in late, feel free to get anything at all. Anything. We prefer it to be about Philadelphia sports. I shared a link to this on Facebook. You guys are awesome, dude. No to which, thank you. And if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, correct me. I think I got it right. That silent K could be a killer, though. But you shared the link on Facebook, and that means the world to us. We really appreciate that. Anything to help the Twitch stream grow. And if you haven't, facebook.com/warroomphilly, or pretty much War Room Philly on anything that you can. And Kev, if you want to throw yourself a plug.
Nope.
No, I love that. I love it. He's like, you know what? If you want to see me, you come here.
Right, that's pretty much it. Other than that, I yell about the Flyers during the game, but
I love it. I love it.
My Twitter is dead unless the game is going on.
Let's go live to the casino. Hey, soon. We're getting there. Soon. As soon as I get my microchip, I'll be all right. As soon as I get my microchip implanted, I'll be going out everywhere.
I just signed up for mine, so I'm ready.
Yeah, I got the email. It was on the list of things to do. It's been a couple days now. But yeah. So as far as just everything tonight, we covered a lot. You guys have been guys in chat as always have been awesome. Love seeing the new faces, or new names, I should say. But yeah. Guys, thank you all for tuning in. Once again, final thoughts and everything. We're not just signing out now, but as I do best, I fumble the exit and everything, and just run on and on and on. But Kev, any final thoughts tonight? Anything we kind of started around Phillies talk, which I'm okay with, because sign JT, and in fact, the new reliever that they got, only he gets signed, and he just says sign JT, and I'm like, this guy's I'm a fan. I'm going to get his jersey.
He's already my favorite Philly until they sign JT.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, it's like the Phillies. How do you get hype until they do that? The
Yeah.
Sixers, the Sixers have been, stagnant with the COVID protocols. So we're gonna, I'm looking forward to catching that fourth quarter tonight. And as far as the Eagles, whew, that was a lot. But yeah, any final thoughts for you?
No, Flyers Bruins tomorrow night, so we'll get the first game of that for them this season. So
It's gonna be so, because look, after the restructure of divisions, that's like the one. I'm like, no more Flyers Bruins like rivalry,
yeah,
And to bring that back this year was just like it's a fun
yeah,
little cameo or whatever. That's not reprise, if you will. Yeah, not cameo. I knew the word was in there somewhere in that brain. Um, but yeah. So yeah, I think that's it tonight then, right?
yeah. That's all I got.
Well then, on that opening day with fans, isn't that a nice, pleasant, warm thought? I could see. So what? Opening, maybe.
Probably
I don't.
playoff. My guess is that baseball playoffs will be the first thing to really see fans.
I'm going. I have nothing to go off of, but I would start this like. I would think June is the earliest that we get like across the country fans in the stands again.
Yeah.
I would say June, and that's probably still being optimistic. And I'm only saying June because I have tickets to a concert in June at the Kimmel Center. It was supposed to be last June, and they moved it.
Yep.
Inauguration, yeah, it is. I got the. It's like as patriotic as I can get. We don't talk politics here, though, especially during the show. But although, here's the one thing we can say: forget what side you're on. We got an Eagles and a Phillies fan in the White House, so that's cool, right? At least there's that.
Yeah.
I think I saw that he pardoned Doug Peterson today. No. So with that, thank you guys all for tuning in, both live and on demand if you're part of the YouTube thing. And once again, follow War Room Philly everywhere at War Room Philly, Facebook.com/War Room Philly. Turn notifications on. Do it all. Get active. We will, if you comment on YouTube, anything, we reply. Tonight we had our special guest Kevin Christian on, which was I really appreciate that. Anytime you see Kevin Christian, we're gonna go full on hockey talk, or at least we didn't go full on tonight. We didn't go, but we went 4 for 4 tonight, which was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hadn't had real quick. Here's a final thought, and we'll wrap it up. Who are you don't have to give me like a Stanley Cup prediction because we didn't really talk NHL tonight, and this is the first time I had you on. As far as this season goes, you could give me a cup prediction if you have one, but like even if you want to give me like 4 cup contenders, like who are your top 4 teams? Because we focused pretty much on our division, and that's it, and rightfully so. That's what you're only going to see this year. Yeah. But let's open up and remember that there is an entire league real quick. Yeah. And who do you see around the league? And it'll be the last thing we talk about. And we got some love for you in chat too, which I wanted to pass along.
Thank you. And so what I'll say is, with the way it breaks down this year, is you got to win your division to make it to the Final Four. So I'll give you one from each. First off, I think the Flyers come out of it. It's been my thought from the beginning of the year. I'm a little more concerned now with all of these injuries, but I still think they're the best team top to bottom in this division. I think Pittsburgh, Washington, Boston are always going to be those teams that, they make the playoffs every year for a reason. But I do think Philly comes out of it. Up north, I think it's going to be a hell of a battle. But I love that Vancouver team. They got a couple of young studs up there that I think that's a really fun team to watch. And I think they have a really good shot at making it pretty far this year. Tampa Bay is going to be back. If they're not in the Final Four, I'd be shocked. They're ridiculous. That team is a lot of fun.
They showed night one, like, oh, hey, by the way, Like you blinked, it was like 3-0.
Yeah,
Like
night one without the top goal scorer, and they
I remember specifically because I had a brother in a room who was very excited because he bet the over, and he's like, "Tampa's gonna get the over by themselves." And I was like, "Oh man!"
But my cup prediction and my cup team that I expect to win, you'll be able to rock that Nordiques jersey. My guess is that it's Colorado's year.
Everyone's picking them, and it's making me nervous.
And for good reason though, because they were the only, in my opinion, this was a weird offseason. The only contender, the only legitimately good team who got better is Colorado.
Yeah.
And they added some serious pieces to an already phenomenal team. And their window's small because they have 2 superstars who are not getting paid what they should be yet. And that goes away pretty much at the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
They got to work out their defensive problems, but when you can score like they can, it's a run and gun type thing with them. So I picked Philly and Colorado at the end of last year with the way the teams were built.
I fear that. I know people are like, "Oh, they're your 2 favorite teams." Like, no, because I hate whoever plays the Flyers. So if the Avalanche are going to win, I want it to be on a year that I can enjoy it. Right. And like, I won't enjoy it if they beat the Flyers. In fact, it'll like, I'll have to burn my stuff. Yeah, it's like, well, I'm not gonna like this team anymore. Like you know, like for anyone that's like follows like through the football, like I kind of root for, like I really like Russell Wilson, so I like rooting for the Seahawks. Like they're not. I watch a lot of sports, so I like to have secondary teams. I'm never gonna go to a playoff game, or like I'm not gonna act like they're my team. My teams are anything that says Philadelphia in front of it.
Correct.
But you know, like now it was like after the Eagles won this, I was like, I can't root for another NFC team. So I've been like scouting, and I'm like, well, the Chargers have an Oregon and Virginia Tech quarterback, so I like that. You know, with Tyrod Taylor as the backup. You know, Vegas, the Raiders have Mariota. You know, I'm just scouting West Coast teams, and you know, but so far, not Colorado Seymour Kings. Kings. I don't know about Kings. Wait.
LA won't even make the playoffs. They're a bad team.
Did I miss something there? Oh, wait. It'll be the first. Wait, I missed something. Hold on, wait. Flyers in LA. Oh, yeah. No. That's definitely not happening. That's a prediction.
Oh, yeah. LA's not a good team this year. That may be one of the worst teams I've ever seen put together. LA is.
Trying too much.
LA's got the perhaps the best farm system in the league at this point.
Yeah.
They're going to be very good very soon, but not just yet.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, it was good little hockey talk to end on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it for real this time, guys. Thank you all for tuning in, both live and on demand. Thank you to my special guest Kevin Christian for filling in for Keith. So yeah, guys, I really appreciate it. Chat has been super fun as always tonight. So with that, I am Anthony Pinto.
And I'm Kevin Christian.
And we are